integrated weed management isn't going, oh, you know, I'm gonna mix up these two options. I'm gonna spray and I'm gonna pull. It's actually collecting information, and the first and most primary piece of information you have to have is what weed am I dealing with. And so, that, what you have learned has been great for that. And then how to go ahead and manage it is going to depend on a myriad of different other reasons. For reasons that Scott stated, PUD and the programs they support primarily go in non-herbicide direction. We were able to get funding from the Forest Service this year, which has allowed us to move in, open up the option of herbicide cost sharing with landowners that we haven't been able to do for a number of years. So, what's the best way to manage your weeds? The one tool that's universal across everything else is consistency. Be consistent because you're in a management situation, you're not in a silver bullet situation. You aren't going to, hit it once and get rid of it no matter what you do. Just like Gary said, after 2-3 years of pulling, gee, we're working ourselves out of a job here. So, okay.
This isn't working, so it's kind of hidden behind there, but we just have to hit that. So. And it shows, they're seeing the whole thing.
They're seeing the whole thing.
That's just you.
I can't read that. Okay, so this is just a very brief update for our fly rush status and our other weeds. This is a grant funded project, so again, triangular cross-section for the leaf, the heavy rhizome, and the little white thing at the end. This isn't my pointer. Yeah, this little white bud at the end, that's one of the structures that breaks off, floats down, and infects other areas of the river. And then in the flower head here, there's also little structures, little brown things that break off. They're not true seeds, but it doesn't matter. They serve the same purpose. They make it reproduce. So, here, right here. So, that's the primary means of spread. Another thing that helps identify it, and we've seen it, when it emerges from the water, or even if it isn't emerged completely from the water, the very tip of the leaf will make a little corkscrew twist to it, and that's an identifier. And then, as Scott mentioned, the color in the water is more often more brown than green. And even the emerged stems, these look pretty bright green, but against the other green vegetation, they're gonna have a coppery overtone to them. So you'll, like you said, you can have a grippy patch of native rush, and if there's fly rush in the middle, you'll pick it right out. So it's more the environmental conditions that make it difficult to identify. Like when you're looking in the water, is there glare? Is there a whole bunch of other weeds that you have to find it through? Sometimes along the shoreline, it does blend in really well with different vegetation along the shoreline. So those are the identifications. Not working. Okay. So, this is a map that shows everywhere that we either found it and or treated it over the period of 2015 through 2020. And again, I have my pretty pictures, the yellow flag and the purple loosestrife. Now, out of all of these, there's a lot of iris. The vast majority occurs north of Cusick, but there's very little purple loosestrife. And our primary spots are just outside of Ione here, on this side and right across the river on the other side. And so in the upper regions of the river, that's where we know purple loosestrife is pretty much every year. And the one infestation, you know, there's maybe a plant or two, sometimes there's no plants, because we identified that one early, but the other one, we didn't identify it until just a few years ago, and it had become quite large. And so we're busy knocking it out. That's the one on the east side of the river. But even considering that Idaho is sending us massive quantities of seed, we've been able to keep it off the rest. There's a little bit continuing downriver in the boundary reach, but for the most part, it's in the Box Canyon. Okay, so that's purple loosestrife, and you had it on there.
Oh, what just happened?
Thank you. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So, the things that I want you to keep in mind with these representations of where we found it and where we treated it in the next 3 slides is in 2020, we had, give or take, $60,000 to $75,000 to deal with this weed in the Box Canyon Reach. We had plenty of money to deal with in the boundary because Seattle was contributing the full amount. But in the Box Reach, we didn't have a whole lot of money. And then in 2021, oops, go here.
You got it.
Oops, no.
Wrong side.
Thank you. Then in 2021, we actually had enough money to really go after this plant. So it looks like, oh, this problem is getting so much worse with all those red dots. But that isn't the case. The case is we were actually able to visit and treat a whole lot more sites than we've ever been able to in any year before. And so I'm hoping as we move, thank you. Yeah, there's some boring stuff. So, yeah, it just basically says that we're gonna treat with herbicide on the shore, dash in the water, and we have enough money this year. Again, we have the full sum amount of money. So,
What's DASH stand for again?
diver assisted suction harvest. Yes. So again, like I said, purple loosestrife is very limited. Iris is more widespread, but it spreads more slowly. And that's something that one of the things I wanted to speak to is Scott mentioned the term terraforming. And that is the role of all aquatic plants. That
Do they
is their
grow
job.
up on the bank also?
What, the iris? Yes.
The purple,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think I thought so.
Maybe, but probably not. Send me a picture, okay? Okay. So, anyway, every aquatic plant's job is to take a nascent water system, pure, freshly formed lake, clear, no plant life in it, and turn it into a wet meadow. And that's its job. Now, as a general rule, that takes well over 100,000 years for that process to happen. Well, plants that grow like iris, purple loosestrife, milfoil, they all accelerate that process. And they take that process that's supposed to take 100,000 years, and they take it down to maybe 10 or less thousand years. Flowering rush, it'll take that process down to within 100 years. So, think about that. It's really scary. Anyway. So, some of the other, species, that like Richard mentioned, and others have mentioned, is, zebra mussels, zebra and quagga. There's some mud snails from New Zealand, there's lots of that fun stuff. Okay, now I wanted to try, can we try to click on that link?
We can try. Oh, here, let me do it on that
Screen?
one.
Okay,
Oh, it's just gonna come up over here.
okay. And yeah, it's a different screen to share, so.
They can't see it online though.
Oh, okay. So can we go to, the map and turn it in, well, it doesn't need to. Can we go to the, where it says Flower Rush? And double click on it? Not there, no, the Flower Rush, the word,
That's, oh, right there.
yeah. Oops, single click. There we go. Okay, so, throw out some names of where you live.
Davis Lake.
No, you gotta be on the river, sorry.
Skookum Revenue.
Pardon?
Skookum.
Skookum, okay. So go to, right here. Take your cursor there and blow it up.
Ah! Too far,
Too far, too far. Okay, and then see where the loop-de-loos are? Yeah, right there. Okay, so there you are. That shows what, the data that was collected in the Skookum area, last year. Okay, that's good, that's good. So where it says 20, just north of there. Right there. And a little bit of it, yeah. A little bit, either, there's right on. Good.
Ah. It's very touchy.
Yeah,
Ah.
okay, perfect. So that's what we found in Ione last year, in the Ione area. So that's how it works, and there's actually a link to this online. I'm pretty sure it's visible to the, yeah, you can put a link on our website.
Yeah, and that way the people who are online can look at it.
Yeah. And so it's, visible to the public, I should say.
Let's see, I'm gonna go ahead. That. And then I gotta
And we're
go-
done, so.
Okay.
Okay, and Diana wanted me to remember, thank you for being my memory, that we do have a couple tools that are available to rent. We have the roller that you saw outside and the weed ray. Both of those are available to rent for a nominal fee, and you get them for several days. And that's, yeah, I think that's about it.
Do you wanna do a couple of raffles while I get Alex?
Absolutely.
So leave that on for a minute.
Okay. Dana? Where's our raffle
Raffles
bin?
really quick while we get Alex here. Alright. Okay.
You have a t-shirt?
Yeah.